Can you break down what this ballot measure is? What will Sherwood residents be voting on Tuesday?
So there's two ballot measures. The first one is really focused on transparency and community involvement in decision making around land use decisions. So it enshrines in the charter that there's a certain level of public hearings and due diligence that has to occur with our community when we're making major land use decisions. For instance, if a developer wanted to come in and build a new residential area with 500 new homes, there's a process, and we're not talking about slowing the process down because we already have a 120-day rule around issuing permits. This is just about making sure that our citizens have a right to be a part of that process, to be heard, and be on the public record as part of that process. And just a little background on that, Senate Bill 974 last year actually took away the rights of the citizens to have those public hearings and reduce public notice to 100 feet of a project. And we just didn't feel that was right. And since we are a home rule state, we're putting that in as part of our charter. Long-winded, but hopefully that explains things. The second charter amendment is just preserving and enshrining our procedural rights around annexations. So if someone wants to bring property into our city, we have a process that's very similar to what cities around us use, and we just want to make sure that's in our charter that those rights exist and we can control how we grow. Local control. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, you talked about that Senate bill that was passed during the last session. What concerns do you have about the way the state is approaching housing production at that state level right now in the state legislature?
Well, let me be clear. We all agree we have a housing crisis, and we all agree that we have missing middle housing, missing affordable housing. These are all things that we are all trying to solve. Um, we just have a difference of opinion on how you solve those problems. The state has, over the years, given a lot of control to developers to make those decisions. And I think 20 years ago, when most developers were small family-owned businesses that were parts of our community, that would work. But nowadays, we have large corporate developers that are private equity backed, and they don't have the same care or concern for our communities, and it's more about profit. So I think there's just a general disagreement that the state thinks they're trying to eliminate a lot of procedural hurdles. Um, we think a lot of that is based on anecdote and not fact, because Sherwood has always been very responsive with developers. We partner with developers, and we've had some great projects over the year. We just want control of how that integrates into our community, what that vision looks like. And we believe that because we're boots on the ground, we're better equipped to solve those problems than a statewide mandate, one size fits all type of solution.
And so, did you bring these concerns up in the state legislature while they were working on this Senate bill? Was this something you realized after the fact, once that Senate bill had passed? How involved were you at the state level when they were having these conversations?
Very, very involved. And it's not just this Senate bill. There's been a whole string of bills, starting with HB 2001 back in 2019. I'm actually the vice president of the League of Oregon Cities. So we do a lot of lobbying at the state level on behalf of cities. I also sit on the Metro Mayor's Consortium Executive Committee, which does a lot of lobbying at the state level on this bill and various other bills. But we have worked very hard to partner with the legislature and the governor's office on these bills, and I think the record would show that.
What would change if these ballot measures are passed? What would residents notice first?
I think probably not a lot at first. What we're trying to do is we recently brought in um, around 1,500 acres into the urban growth boundary around our city on the west and south side of the city, around our high school. And we put together a comprehensive plan with our community about what that's going to look like and how we're going to grow out there and solve some of the problems that we talked about. And I think what we're doing is building our toolkit to defend that plan. We made a commitment to our community and they bought into it. We had almost zero people coming to our city council meetings when we were considering that expansion is because of that hard work that we did with our community to get their buy-in. And I want to be able in good faith deliver on that plan that we put together with our community. So this is building out that toolkit of things that we need to help preserve that plan with our community.
So there are some concerns that this, could slow housing production. Well, how do you balance public input with the need to build more homes?
I don't think there's any material evidence that public input has slowed housing. Senate Bill 974 originally started as a bill to limit the size of the time that a city has to respond to a permit request. Um, the bill ended up not changing that. It's 120 days. That does not change. The city of Sherwood probably averages more like 45 days. And these are complex things when you're talking about streets and roads and, standards and stuff like that. So I think there's spot issues. I won't name any cities where there's been problems. And those anecdotes have driven a lot of this legislation as opposed to actually looking at the data and what's really happening on the ground. So to answer your question, I don't think it's going to slow it down at all. So
Thank you for that. Just two more questions for you.
yeah.
State officials may say that, Oregon law supersedes what a city's charter says. Are you prepared for any legal challenges if voters approve these measures?
Yes, we are. Um, so under our state constitution, we're what's called a home rule state. So if you read the state constitution, it says any powers not vested at the state level are the domain through a charter of local governments. That's called home rule, as opposed to other states that are Dillon's rule, which the legislature grants powers to the city. Now, there's been some court precedents that have really softened that in terms of the state's ability to preempt local control. Um, but to answer, so we believe we're a home rule state and we're prepared for a fight if need be.
Thank you for that. And then just my last question for you is, what's your message to the Sherwood community as they go into voting on these ballot measures tomorrow? What should they know if you haven't shared any of that information already? And yeah, what's your message to the community?
Get out and vote. Whether you're in support or against these measures, we encourage you to vote. We want your voices to be heard. There's lots of great material out there. The voters pamphlet I thought was really well put together in terms of what these measures do and don't do. And get on social media. There's a lot of great content out there on my website, etc., if they want to learn more.